Kara is here on the in the green room with us, but she has dogs, so she asked me to ask you this. She actually saw you,
Okay.
Nir, at Qualtrics.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Qualtrics.
Qualtrics. And she goes like, what is the emotion or the pain point? What if the emotion or the pain point is further removed from the reward, like home delivery of meals, like HelloFresh or Schwan's? So how do you get customers to try is easy, but repeating habit is hard. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, this is a huge challenge. One, I mean, one of the number one reason why I will tell a company that they're not going to form a habit is if the behavior does not occur with sufficient frequency. Larry Page, the CEO of Google, calls this the toothbrush test. He only wants to make products that are used as frequently as a toothbrush, twice a day. I relax that requirement a bit. I think once a week is really the cutoff. But if the product isn't used within a week's time or less, and that doesn't mean bought, by the way, the purchase is very different from the use of the product. But if the product isn't used frequently, it's very hard to turn it into a habit. And so what we see a lot of times happening is if there's a big lag between any of the four steps of the hook, if there's a gap between the trigger, the action, the reward, and the investment, then that degrades the ability to form a habit. So what you want to do is to find ways to increase the velocity through the hook in some way. So what happens, what we can do if a product itself can't become a habit because it's not used frequently enough, there's a few solutions. One of them being we can attach something that is habit forming, that does occur with sufficient frequency, onto something that isn't done with enough frequency. So I'll give you a quick anecdote. I spoke recently at a conference of 700 real estate agents. 700 real estate agents, and they brought me up on stage and they say, now we want to hear from Nir Eyal. He's a habit formation, and he is going to tell us how to make home buying and selling into a habit.
Oh, wow.
And I almost threw up. I was so nervous because I said, I'm so sorry. Maybe you hired the wrong person to come speak, but I am never going to tell you how to form a habit around buying and selling a home. It cannot become a habit. It's not something that occurs frequently. And it's something that we do with a lot of conscious thought, right? The definition of a habit is a behavior done with little conscious thought. So there's no way you're going to make a home buying and selling into a habit. And yet, I gave my presentation. I only had one talk at the time, so I couldn't come up with something on the fly. So I presented my hook model, and it was amazing because a lot of these real estate agents came up with ways to bolt on frequently occurring behaviors so that the result of engagement would eventually be monetization. Okay, let me say that again. It's a really important point. The result of engagement is monetization. So for example, we can get people to engage with our product in ways that may not necessarily have immediate a buying opportunity, but the result of all that engagement will eventually be that they'll buy from us. So let me give you two examples. Williams-Sonoma makes cookware, and that is not something that is bought once a week. That's never going to be a habit. But what they did, they discovered that if they made this website called taste.com, and they published all this great content about cooking and cooking related interest stuff, that by publishing this stuff frequently, they could form a habit with people who are enthusiasts of cooking related, recipes and interviews and all kinds of great content. And if they could get people habituated to consuming that content, the result of that would be that when someone in that audience wanted to buy something, guess who they were going to buy it from? Williams-Sonoma. So that's the content that we can bolt on. We can also bolt on community. So for example, if you can create a community around your product in some way, and the example here is the Hallmark Keepsake Ornament Club. 300,000 Americans are members of this club, and the club sells Christmas ornaments, right? Christmas comes once a year. How do you build a habit around that? Well, it turns out that there are so many members in this club, and they're very active. You can go to a Hallmark store in the middle of June, and you will see people lined up to buy these Christmas ornaments. Why? Because they're not there just for the Christmas ornaments. They're there also because Janice is going to be there, and Fred's going to be there, and all my friends are going to be there. They form this community that they engage with online and offline, And that's really what's being sold. It's this need to understand others and to be understood yourself. And so if you can bolt on content or community onto a product that's not used frequently, you can bolt on these habits so that the result of all that engagement will eventually be monetization.